Thank you, Program Director Dr. Nomsa Masugu, His Excellency, the Honorable President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Jacob Zuma, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers present, Honorable Members of Parliament, the Honorable Leaders of political parties present here today, chairpersons, CEOs of fellow Chapter 9 institutions, chairperson and deputy chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, the chairperson and members of the Municipal Demarcation Board, the vice chair and fellow commissioners of the Electoral Commission present, the representatives of the South African Local Government Association, fellow staff members and leadership of the Electoral Commission present, representatives of the faith-based organizations with us, representatives of the disability sector, representatives of the business community, representatives of non-government organizations, members of the Fourth Estate, the media, and members of the diplomatic corps present, fellow South Africans, both present here with us today, and those watching this broadcast live from home. Honored guests and former leaders of the Electoral Commission, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege on behalf of the Electoral Commission of South Africa to welcome you all here today to what is undoubtedly one of the most important events on the calendar of any election. There are many key milestones on the road to an election, and some of these are obvious and well known. Just to name a few, it is the proclamation of the election date, the certification of the voters' roll, the nomination and confirmation of the candidates, the conduct of the elections themselves, and finally, the announcements of the results. So one may ask, why then, if the signing of the Code of Conduct is so vital, is it not on the election timetable? Well, unlike other milestones, this is about the rules of law and the pronouncement of the rules of the game. Like any contestation, can you imagine a World Cup final without the FIFA rules? So it is that the Code of Conduct is not bound by proclamation because it spans a far broader time period encompassing the entire build-up to the election. Election day and the election results period is also included. The Electoral Act requires that the Code of Conduct must be subscribed to by all parties and candidates before they may be allowed to contest the election. I repeat, the Electoral Act requires that the Code of Conduct must be subscribed to by all parties and candidates before they may be allowed to contest an election. This ensures that all contestants are aware of the rules of the game before it is played. The purpose of the code, therefore, is to ensure a level playing field for all the contestants. Ladies and gentlemen, today is particularly crucial because it's a day in which the leaders before us of the South Africa's 13 nationally represented political parties will stand before you, South Africans, and to publicly and personally pledge to abide by the rules that will ensure the elections are free and fair. The honorable leaders present today and their parties represent over 95% of voters in the most recent 2014 national and provincial elections. There will be further pledges signed by independent candidates and parties not represented here today, and that rollout will take place throughout the country in the various provinces. However, soon each leader will be humbly requested to publicly commit to the code, which promotes free and fair election through tolerance, public and open debate, and free political campaigning. As leaders, their pledges also imply a commitment that binds their respective parties. Their respective parties' candidates, party officials, and office bearers, representatives, card-carrying members, and their supporters, at all times to comply with the code throughout the election period, and that henceforth they will take all reasonable steps to ensure these candidates, members, officials, and supporters comply with the code. Honorable leaders, in this year of the celebration of the 20th milestone of our Constitution, the people of South Africa look to each of you to set an example and to show your leadership and commitment to our constitutional democracy and peaceful elections. In the past few weeks, the people of South Africa and the world at large have seen the start of a period of a colorful and vibrant political campaigning. With the launch of the manifestos, most of the parties represented here today have already started the game. The next 78 days before the election on the 3rd of August will see some of the most robust, vigorous political campaigning in a relatively short history of our beloved country's democracy. The Commission believes such a consultation signals the metamorphosis of our precious democracy. We embrace the maturing and deepening of our democracy. Therefore, we proudly relish the advancement of our nationhood ideal that remains enshrined in our hearts. This is the ideal the fathers and the mothers of our democracy the citizen is equally protected by law. It is an ideal captured in our founding provisions of our Constitution, which sets our nation as one sovereign democratic state founded on the following values: human dignity, achievement of equality and advancement of human rights and freedoms, non-racialism and non-sexism. In this regard, the Electoral Commission has critical interdependencies with other state organs involved, such as importantly and represented here by the chairperson of that court, the Electoral Court, that is represented by Judge Shong. And as well as the interministerial committee that is part of us in preparation of this election. And earlier this year, we were honored when we hosted a seminar at which the chairperson of the Electoral Court, Judge Jeremiah Shonge, was our keynote speaker. Also in attendance were key representatives of the stakeholder groups which I've just mentioned, along with representatives of political parties and the civil society. The Electoral Court is the relevant authority to pursue allegations of contravention of the Code of Conduct, and Judge Shongwe made it very clear that he welcomes any member of the public to approach this court directly to report allegations of the violation of the code, which means that we in South Africa have a unique system that says the courts are accessible to every citizen. It is equivalent to a citizen's arrest. If you see any transgression by any party, you are free to proceed to the courts without even spending monies with lawyers and so on. And the South African Police and National Prosecution Authority have also committed to making personnel available urgently to investigate and to bring to book any party who violates the code. And the model that they are following is almost similar to that adopted during the FIFA World Cup, where justice was swift. The Commission wishes to acknowledge to you that the people of South Africa, that we are seized with our part of the bargain as a Commission. We are also the first to acknowledge the challenges, the intricacies, and the complexities of our role and responsibilities. In this regard, all leaders present here today will acknowledge our unprecedented endeavors through the Party Liaison Committee for the continuous liaison and consultation with them. These include special extended PLCs with the leaders. In addition, the Commission and I have held unprecedented one-on-one engagements with all honorable leaders and their leadership teams that represented each political party that is here today. This platform has indeed, I would wish to acknowledge, that has enhanced our understanding as the Commission of the concerns from our political party stakeholders, and it has also provided invaluable input from the political parties. And we, as we speak, as a Commission, we commit ourselves that we will leave no stone unturned to reach amicable resolution of all matters raised, both in the short to medium term as well as in the long term. This includes taking firm measures in putting in place a code of conduct for our electoral staff and holding them to account at all levels throughout the elections. In conclusion, distinguished guests, is the mandate of the Electoral Commission, but it is something we cannot achieve alone. But if the conditions not conducive to tolerance, to open and free debate, then the outcome cannot be free and fair. Quite simply, if the contestants don't abide by the rules, then we will not have a fair outcome. If you can imagine a soccer game, it depends on the referees, but at the same time it depends on the players, as well as it depends on the fans. For election to be free and fair, it requires a wide range of key success factors, among which include the logistics, the systems, our staff, and the various participants and the voters. Therefore, the Electoral Commission appeals to all these stakeholders to embrace and uphold the Code of Conduct and allow laws and regulations established to protect our democracy. We urge all leaders of political parties to uphold and defend the Code of Conduct. We appeal to all candidates to contest these elections vigorously and vibrantly, but at all times respecting the rights of others. We call on our partners in the civil society, including the NGOs, the faith-based organization, our traditional leaders, to work with us on the ground in the communities to help promote tolerance and peace, as well as to allow free campaigning to proceed without being hindered. And we also rely on our friends in the media to promote the understanding and knowledge of the code among all the voters and the contestant, and to help expose any violations. We call on all the members of staff of the Electoral Commission to always maintain the highest level of ethics and professional conduct while maintaining our values of impartiality, integrity, accountability, transparency, and finally, respect. We call also on all the voters in South Africa to conduct themselves in the manner befitting and supporting our young, vibrant democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, democracy means that while we might not all make the same choice, everyone is allowed to make their own choice without fear, favor, or intimidation. It is what our Constitution guarantees, and it is what the code is there for. In the end, the game to be fair, the players must know and respect the rules. The referee must be protected, or the game itself will collapse. In this regard, the political party leadership disposition to the Electoral Commission can either make or break the upcoming elections. To the leaders of political parties and to all the people of South Africa, we as the Commission, we are saying, let the game begin, and it is over to you. Thank you.